Have there been events in your life that have tested your theology or influenced it profoundly?
Everything has tested my theology. It's tested every day because my theology is that God is goodness. Goodness is God. And lots of things happen in the world that are not good. And so my theology is constantly being tested.
What is your view of miracles?
Everything is a miracle. Walt Whitman said that in one of his poems. Everything is a miracle. The fact that you and I are here talking today is also a miracle. I never expected to be in the movies. Here I am in the movies. That's a miracle. But really, the simple fact that we get up in the morning, that there is air for us to breathe, there is food for us to eat, there is love on the part of those whom we love and who love us, all of those are miracles. Everything is a miracle. If you're asking specifically about supernatural miracles, miracles which seem to contravene the laws of nature, like some of the miracles described in the Bible, no, I don't believe that those ever happened. I believe that those are simply devices to impress us with the ideas that the authors of the Bible wanted to get across.
Are there specific Bible stories you dislike for one reason or another?
I don't like identifying God with the conquest of territory and with the dispossession of native peoples from their territories, or with killing, as God is sometimes associated with.
How do you feel about the war in Iraq?
It's a great sin. It's a great sin. And it is a return to something which a Bible story, since you asked me about Bible stories, is opposed to, namely the sacrifice of children. And the whole story of Abraham's binding his son Isaac is the struggle. There are two views presented in that story. On the one hand, God tells Abraham to sacrifice his son. On the other hand, God tells Abraham not to sacrifice his son. Abraham had to choose between those two views. In the end, he chose the view that God did not want him to sacrifice his son, which means he had to disregard the first revelation where God says, sacrifice your son. We are sacrificing our children, the best boys and girls of America, to no purpose. And that, in my opinion, is a great sin.
Now, a lot of Jews supported the war on the grounds that it was good for Israel.
Alexander, I also supported the war in the beginning. I never supported anything in America because it was good for Israel. Because what is good for Israel may not always be what is good for America. And in the long run, only what is good for America will be good for Israel in the long run. The Iraq war is not good for America. And therefore, in the long run, I cannot believe that it will be good for Israel.
Is Jewish allegiance to Israel ever detrimental?
Yes. Allegiance to anything is detrimental if it is blind. It is good if it is critical allegiance, critical loyalty, as is my allegiance to Judaism. I don't say that we should accept everything in Judaism. We have to be critical. My motto is, my Judaism right or wrong. If right, to keep it right. If wrong, to set it right. The first thing that is wrong with Judaism is the idea that it was given to us by God, not that it was created by the Jewish people. To my way of thinking, God is not a person in the sky whom we ask for things, which he does or gives us. God is in the world, inside us, working through us. And therefore, the whole idea that the Jewish religion was given to the Jews by God, I feel, is a bad idea. We have to view the Jewish religion as the creation of the Jewish people. And because it is the creation of the Jewish people, we don't have to defend it as being perfect. We love it because it is ours. But we could also recognize that there are things in it that need to be changed, that need to be improved. Because nothing human is perfect.
What are some ideas that you've changed?
Well, originally my ideas were like everybody's ideas, that God was a person. And I am now convinced that unless we get rid of the idea that God is a person or a personality, we will always be defending ideas that are outmoded and downright dangerous. I want to substitute the idea that God is a person or a personality with the idea that God is a power or a process. You notice I've saved the letter P.
Were there any specific events in your life that led to your changing your conception of God?
Yes. What happened was that when I was in college, the Hillel director at CCNY, Rabbi Arthur Zuckerman, one day gave me a book by Mordecai Kaplan to read. The name of the book was The Meaning of God in Modern Jewish Religion. I had never read a book like that before. When I opened it up, the first paragraph upset me so that I threw the book to the ground, and I said I would never read anything by this fellow again. But I was curious. I picked the book up and read the whole book. The opening paragraph said that traditional Jewish religion has nothing to say to modern people. And here was I preparing myself to be a rabbi. But I was convinced by the time I finished reading the book that the author was right, and that in order for the Jewish religion to actually become influential in the lives of people, some of its basic ideas had to be changed, like the idea of God, like the idea of the chosen people, which was a part of traditional Judaism which I cannot accept.
Why can't you accept that idea?
Because I believe that all individuals and all groups are equal in the sight of God.
Is God's existence absolute? I mean, is it dependent upon human faith?
God is not a person.
Right.
So when you say existence, you have to understand what you mean. God is the power that exists in all of nature and exists in us because we're part of nature. Mm-hmm. What will happen when the human race will come to an end, neither you nor I know.
So, is it possible to be religious then without believing in God?
There are religions in which the belief in God is not required. But in Judaism it is required as far as I understand it. Because we become ethical from the Jewish point of view by thinking about God. You know, we just came downstairs from the synagogue, and over the ark we have the words inscribed from the book of Psalms, from the 16th Psalm, Shiviti Adonai L'negdi Tamid. I keep God in mind continually. By thinking about God, by thinking of God's kindness, justice, love, we seek to emulate God, to be like God. Too many people think that religion means believing in God. It's not belief that we need, it's thought, rational thought about God that we need. Religion must be in sync with the scientific worldview.
Joseph Campbell said that religion is seeing beyond, is us trying to see beyond our campfire. Do you see myth as important to religion?
Myth is important to religion, but one has to ask what myth is. Myth is an attempt to symbolically portray truths about the world which it is difficult to understand.
So, as a rabbi, are you?
You can say rabbit. Sometimes I get letters in the mail that say Rabbit E. Goldsmith.
Do you see yourself as sort of a cultural leader as well?
Well, Judaism is a culture. It's culture plus religion.
It's on the trees too.
Yes.
What do you see as your most significant accomplishment or contribution?
Getting Jews to love being Jewish. I haven't always succeeded, but I have succeeded with a few people, and that's what I'm most proud of.